Picture this: a 14-year-old sits hunched over her desk at 11 p.m., headphones on, staring at a screen. Her parents peek through the door, shaking their heads. She's always on that phone, they whisper, distracted, unmotivated. But maybe, just maybe, the very thing we fear is what's keeping her curious. Here's what they don't see: she's not scrolling mindlessly, she's in a virtual study group, collaborating with peers across the city on a psychology project about emotional regulation. She's using digital mind mapping tools to organize her thoughts. She's watching a 3-minute animation that makes dopamine pathways finally make sense after weeks of struggling with the textbook. The screen they feared as a distraction has become her bridge to understanding. This is the paradox of our digital age. We see technology as the enemy of focus, the thief of attention, and the obstacle to learning. But what if I told you that we've been looking at it wrong? My name is Geo Sebastian, and I'm a psychology teacher who specializes in gamification and social emotional learning. I spent years watching students navigate this exact tension. And I'm here to share a perspective that might challenge what you believe about screens, motivation, and learning. Let me start by acknowledging the elephant in the room. Yes, the concerns about digital technology in the classroom are very much real and research backed. Studies show that 26% of teachers identify lack of student attention as a severe barrier to learning. We know about the dopamine traps of social media, the shortened attention spans, the anxiety that comes with constant connectivity. Parents and educators watch students glued to their device and feel a justified alarm. But here's where psychology offers us a different lens. Motivation doesn't live inside the students, it grows in response to the environment and the rewards around them. Digital platforms, when designed with psychological principles in mind, don't destroy motivation. They actually catalyze it in ways traditional methods struggle to achieve. The question isn't whether technology motivates, it's how we use it. Let me take you into my classroom for a moment. Last year, I faced one of the most unique topics to teach: schizophrenia. How do you help 17-year-olds understand what it's like to experience auditory hallucinations and disoriented, disordered thinking? Textbook definitions feel hollow. Clinical descriptions create distance and not empathy. So, I did something unconventional. I had my students experience schizophrenia using a simulator application on PC right there in class. For the next 15 minutes or so, they navigated through tasks like picking up medication, navigating through the household, while the app played disorienting voices that distorted their visual field and interrupted their concentration with intrusive thoughts. The classroom went silent. Some students were visibly shaken. Others sat frozen, trying to complete the simulation. When we debriefed, the classroom was unlike anything I had experienced before. The students didn't just know about schizophrenia, they had felt a fraction of its reality. One of the students said, "Now I fully understand how it feels to have schizophrenia, and now this will help me remember it better." This is what psychologists call experiential learning, and it transformed passive consumers of information into deeply engaged, empathetic learners. But digital engagement doesn't always need to be that intense. Sometimes it's about making everyday learning more motivating. In school, I introduced an application called CryptoCoin, a digital token system which students earn points for demonstrating desired behaviors like thoughtful participation, helping their peers, and completing reflection exercises. These points add up to their total school house points, building initiative and team spirit. Now, some might say this is just bribery, but behaviorally, it's far more sophisticated. See, Criticoin applies the principles of operant conditioning and positive reinforcement, providing immediate, consistent feedback that strengthened desired behaviors. The gamification taps into intrinsic motivation by creating a sense of progress, achievement, and autonomy. Students who previously disengaged became suddenly invested. Why? Because digital format made feedback timely, visible, and meaningful. They could track their growth, set goals, experience the psychological satisfaction of earning rewards. The digital tool didn't replace learning, it amplified agency. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but screens reduce face to face interaction. How can they possibly develop social and emotional skills? This is where research surprises us. Social emotional learning, or SEL, encompasses five core competencies: self awareness, self management, social awareness, and relationship skills, and responsive decision making. Digital tools, when intentionally designed, can enhance each of these domains. That schizophrenia simulator I mentioned, it didn't just teach clinical psychology, it built social awareness and empathy. Students walked away with a visceral understanding of what it means to live with a mental health condition, and fundamentally, it shifted how they talked about mental illnesses. This is emotional literacy in action, facilitated by technology. Digital platforms create opportunities for what I call safe space empathy building. They allow students to experience perspectives and realities that would be impossible to access otherwise. Whether that's understanding neurological conditions, exploring historical contexts, or connecting with peers from different cultures on a collaborative project. Research from multiple studies confirms this. Digital educational environments, when structured around SEL principles, significantly enhance students' emotional intelligence and reduce negative behaviors and improve peer to peer collaboration. But perhaps most importantly, digital tools allow for a personalized emotional learning. Not every student processes emotions the same way or at the same pace. Digital platforms allows students to engage with SEL content in ways that match their learning style through journaling apps, video reflections, and interactive storytelling, or even creative digital storytelling. That technology isn't replacing human connection, it's creating new pathways for connection that complement and enrich traditional approaches. Now, here's where the conversation gets really interesting. Can the very technology fragment our attention also teach us to focus it? The answer is yes, but only if we are intentional. I'll be honest with you, I was skeptical at first. A few years ago, I was burned out working on my PhD thesis until midnight, managing classroom stress, struggling with my own anxiety regarding academic matters. A colleague of mine suggested that I try a mindfulness application. My immediate reaction: I don't need another screen telling me what to do. But I was desperate. Curiosity got the better of me. I downloaded an application called Headspace and committed to 10 minutes each morning. And the app guided me through breathing exercises, body scans, and focused attention practices. Nothing revolutionary, but structured in a way that made it accessible. Here's what happened. Within 2 weeks, I noticed that I was responding to academic matters and thesis work with a more patient approach. Within a month, my sleep improved, and I had developed a genuine mindfulness practice that changed how I show up for my day to day matters. The digital tool didn't replace human wisdom or ancient practices, it made them accessible in my chaotic, screen saturated life. Here's what psychology tells us: context matters more than medium. When digital tools are used with a clear intention, structured time limits, and when aligned with well being goals, they don't fragment attention, they train it. We learn to use technology mindfully rather than reactively. This personal in transformation changed how I teach. I started incorporating brief mindfulness moments in class, not with apps, but with practices I learned through them. I could speak authentically about the struggle to focus, the challenge of emotional regulation, because I was living it myself. This is technology mediated self awareness, and it's transforming how educators and students relate their own mental processes. The lesson here isn't that apps replace mindfulness teachers or that screens are always helpful. It's that when we harness digital tools with psychological insight, we can meet people where they are and guide them towards greater self regulation. One of the most powerful shifts I've witnessed is that how digital platforms transform peer relationships and collaborate learning. Traditional classrooms often isolate learning. You read alone, you write alone, you study alone. Collaboration happens in brief, structured moments. Group projects, think pair shares, but it's rarely the foundation of the learning experience. Digital platforms flip the script. Tools like Padlet, shared Google Docs, and collaborative spaces like Google Classroom create environments where the learning is inherently social. Students construct the knowledge, provide real time feedback, and build on each other's ideas in ways that mirror how professionals actually work in the 21st century. Research consistently shows that peer to peer learning, mediated through digital platforms, increase student motivation, foster relationship skills, and develop critical thinking. When students teach each other, review each other's work, and build knowledge collectively, they develop both cognitive and social emotional competencies simultaneously. So, where does this leave us? I'm not here to tell you that technology is a magical solution and that screens are always beneficial. That would be naive and dishonest of me. But I'm here to challenge the binary thinking that technology is either our salvation or our downfall. As educators, parents, and mentors, our role isn't to protect the students from the digital world, it's to equip them to navigate it with wisdom, purpose, and emotional intelligence. When we align tools with psychological principles, positive reinforcement systems like Criticoin, and mindfulness applications, we see technology not as an escape, but as a tool for growth. And this, in turn, requires a fundamental reframing. Technology isn't the obstacle to motivation, poor design, or lack and fear of approaches are. Imagine classrooms where students use applications to experience psychological phenomena firsthand, even earn meaningful recognition for growth behaviors, practice mindfulness through accessible digital guides, and collaborate across distances on projects that matter. This isn't a distant dream, it's happening right now in classrooms all over the world where educators are willing to see technology through the lens of psychology rather than fear. So, here's what I want to ask of you today. If you're an educator, start small. Choose one digital tool that aligns with psychological principle, maybe a gamification system for positive reinforcement, or a simulation that builds empathy, or even a mindfulness application for that matter, for your own well being, so you can model healthy digital use, integrate it, and intentionally monitor its impact and adjust. If you're a parent, rather than asking how much screen time is too much, ask how is my child using their screen time? Are they consuming passively or creating actively? Are they connecting mindlessly, meaningfully, or scrolling mindlessly? Guide them towards an intentional use rather than blanket restriction. If you're a student, reflect on your own digital habits. What apps drain your energy? What tools genuinely help you learn, create, and connect? Be mindful, be intentional. You have more agency over the digital experience than you realize. And to all of us, let's shift this conversation. Let's stop demonizing screens and start asking better questions. Not should we use technology, but how can we use technology to nurture the whole student academically, emotionally, and socially? The digital age isn't something to fear, it's something to navigate with intention, insight, and heart. When we do, technology stops being the problem and it becomes part of the solution. Thank you.